find it hard to say no at work? Should you say no at work? Well, to help us figure it out, please welcome back communication specialist Fotini Economopoulos. Welcome back. I think this is such an important conversation to have about whether you can say no and how you say no. And I think if you're a people pleaser, and on the other spectrum, if you don't want to be seen as difficult, this can be a really tricky thing to navigate. So how do you balance it?
It's a tough one, but if you don't balance it, there are severe consequences. You will burn out. So you have to be very mindful of when is it appropriate to say no and when is it not appropriate to say no. Doing it too much could label you as a difficult person, but doing it too little, you're a wallflower and you're somebody that people can walk all over.
And then you definitely don't want either one of those. All right, but isn't the whole every workplace pretty much set up for you to always say yes? Because you're working somewhere and there's usually a supervisor or a manager and they're the person who tells you what to do, what your shifts are going to be. So are you ever really in a position to say no to things?
I think you are sometimes. It all depends on the circumstances. So you have to think about it really carefully. So what are the consequences to this? How can I frame it? Is there a way where I can say it where I won't be deemed impolite, abrasive, all of those words that we fear so much? So it's all about the how, not if.
Okay. All right, so what about if you've just started your career? Think of like, I'm remembering like when you're in your 20s, you're fresh out of school, you get your first job, you finally get your foot in the door in your career. You're happy to be there because you know how competitive it is. How do you say no in that situation? Do you have the right to say no because you don't have that much experience?
You always have the right to say no if you do it in a way that is manageable and that is courteous, and if you have a reason to do it as well. I remember being, when I was really junior in my career, I had a manager once say to me, "You are the most difficult person to manage, but you are so great for the business." Because I was doing it in a courteous way. I was challenging people. No one wants a yes person on their side all the time. Sometimes you need someone who's willing to stick their neck out and challenge the business and to think about things in a new way. But if you're doing it in a combative way, again, it could get you into some hot water.
So if you say no, you should have a real solid reason as to why you're saying no.
Yeah, there's a few techniques and tricks that you can use to help you mitigate the circumstances.
Okay. Now, how do you know when to say no?
Again, it's that depending on the circumstances. So if you are going to be on the verge of burnout, you're going to have to think about it's time to say no. Because doing that means you're not going to be able to put your best foot forward. And if you don't put your best foot forward, then it's not good for the business either, or for the company that you work for.
But can that get tricky, especially if you're in a very competitive office and everybody seems to be doing okay, but you're the only one who feels like you're burning out, but everybody seems okay with the 15-hour workday?
Perception is not reality. So you might not be the only one feeling that way, but maybe you're the only one that is going to say anything about it. And it's the how you say it that counts.
And Fotini, you have a few key points that you're going to go over with us.
First of all, tackle your guilt. So if you're saying no, you're doing it for a reason. And you wouldn't hold it against somebody else if they were saying no to you if they had a good reason as well. You also have to remember that, just like on an airplane when they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first.
Save yourself first.
You do. You really have to, because if you're burning yourself out, you're not going to serve anybody well, not yourself and not those around you. So number one, you've got to tackle your guilt. That's first and foremost. Number two, think about how you're going to do it. So use words like because. Doesn't mean you're going to give them all the context in the world, because too much is, TMI is not a good thing. But if you can say, use that word because studies show us that people are more amenable and more collaborative when they hear that word. Hey, look, I'd love to, but I can't because I'm swamped right now, because my calendar's really full. You can also treat it as a problem-solving opportunity. So if you were to solve a problem, it would look like, hey, Andrea, I've got this list of 5 other things I need to work on. Can you help me figure out how I can approach these other things?
No.
Well, then...
I'm practicing. Sorry, I was practicing.
Then I would say, in that case, it doesn't look like we have an opportunity to work together.
I'm practicing my no because I'm thinking about, these are really great points, because I think everybody in the audience, we've all struggled with saying no at work because you feel guilty and you're thinking about, like, I have a mortgage, I have kids. Is this going to, like, set me back in my career? So this is a great conversation. I think we all need to, like, have those tools. Are there any other keys that we should know?
A couple more. So one is ask questions. So it's less combative if you're asking a question. So if you were to ask me to do something and it's not going to be good for the client or it's going to piss off my boss, I could ask you, how do you think the client would react to me postponing X, Y, and Z? Or how do you think our boss would respond to that? Instead of going, are you crazy? They're never going to go for that. We want to think about how we can be perceived as a more collaborative person. And the other one I often tell people is use some humor. So you can turn it into a joke, and that takes some of the edge off a little bit and lightens the mood. So someone might say, hey, can you do this thing for me? my spouse is going to divorce me if I miss one more birthday or whatever it is. Or can you talk to my big fat Greek dad and explain to him why I'm going to miss his birthday dinner?
And be like, give me your phone. What's his number? But no, that's good, because then you lighten it so that it doesn't feel so aggressive. Because I think that's the worry. We feel like it's going to start conflict. But no, that's great. So much great information. All right, here's someone we can never say no to. The wildly funny ladies of Fair Enough Fun Sketch are here. Stay with us.